Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. I am Afefe with Touch by Tarot. I'm filming this on Sunday, April 23rd, and I am going to do a collective reading for three things. I said I'm going to start doing this weekly. I got a great response from it, so we're going to keep this going. I'm going to check in with you guys at the beginning of every week for three predominant energies of the week ahead. So now this is going to be what you can expect. The predominant energies, three things I'm asking Spirit for to give you an alert to. This will be for starting today, April 23rd, through Saturday, April 29th. All right. It's going to be general, all signs. All right. It's going to be a collective reading for us all, but it's giving us a sense of what kinds of energies we can expect this week ahead. Three things specifically. Thank you, Spirit. Three things specifically that we're going to be. Ooh, gave me two cards on that one. Let's go. And my usual, I'm going to do tarot and oracles because that's my style. If you are new to my channel, I'm really glad you're here. Please remember to click that like and subscribe button. I'm going to give you something, or do my best to give you something worth liking and subscribing to. And if you're returning, you know how much gratitude I have for you. I really appreciate your time. And I love doing this work. My style is pretty intuitive. I'm not so much into the gossipy, who did what, my lover, husband, spouse, co-worker. Sometimes those things do show up in our readings. That's a part of our lives, right? But my focus is, if you join me, or if you're new to my work, my focus really is about giving you readings that can improve your day-to-day lives, like keep you on target, keep you thoughtful, keep you living, with that forward momentum. If I can do nothing else but give somebody, a sense of inspiration, motivation, caution. Everything does not come up sunshine and roses, as we know. That's not life. But we always have a roadmap. If we hit something, we hit a bump in the road, something's pretty tough going on, coming at us. A lot of these energies, right? We're in Mercury retrograde now. That kicked off. We're in Taurus season, which is wonderful. But it is also, there's some challenging aspects to that with the eclipses going on and just the world we live in general. You all already know, whether it's the home life, the work, your personal development, health issues, monetary issues, all of those things that we're faced with. And, what are we supposed to do? Just curl up in a ball and not participate? That's not what we're made of. And that is certainly not our soul's calling and why we came here. So, Spirit, let's get to it. Gonna throw a little tarot on the piles. Again, this is gonna be three things that you can expect this week, okay? Starting today, April 23rd, running through Saturday, the 29th. All right, so let's see what our first thing is. I've got three piles. I'll show you the cards. I always do. We have, interestingly enough, we have the Hierophant, Magic Prayer. So our words, okay, three things. Growth with toadstools and the desert. So the first thing that's coming this week, you all, is going to have to do with the ways that you are able to express your messaging. And I think this is in particular something that it is how you are receiving messages from someone. If you are taking a class or classes, if you are pursuing any sort of higher studies, I'm going back to this, they call it the messenger in this deck, but that's the Hierophant, right? That is an energy where you all may be one of two things. You're either on the giving end of this or the receiving end of this, meaning if you are in a position to teach others, help others, if you're in some sort of service related industry, or you are, you work with the public, you have a clientele, you're building a business for yourself, or you work for someone else or within a collaborative environment. This is something where you are either receiving information this week that I think Spirit wants you to be a little discriminating about, all right? Because we've got two really important cards that come with this. Remember, again, it's the Hierophant, but in this deck they call it the Messenger. The idea here is if you are the person doing the teaching, if you are the messenger, if that is required in your work or in your day-to-day life, you're that person that others turn to, especially if you're in a healing field. I'm feeling for some of you all. But this is where your opinion matters. Your opinion counts. People are looking to you this week. And so know what it is that you stand on, because the one thing about the Hierophant, very often it does relate to spiritual studies and spiritual leaders. Those who, maybe you enjoy watching people like me or others on YouTube, and you value the expertise that you feel like is being offered to you. And that's a beautiful thing. However, this is interesting. It came with this card that says a desert, and the subtitle here says solitariness. So you all, this week, if you are the person doing the teaching, or you are in a service industry, it's something where people are looking to you for your opinion, your advice, your expertise. Beautiful. But then there's also going to be a need for you this week to find that time to step away from others, so that you're not just constantly being, called upon, and it won't become a drain on your energy. There's going to be a need for you. See how, the beauty in this card is, while yes, there is that solitariness, but look, it's solitary going toward energy, going toward light, going toward some source that continues to sort of refuel. That's how this feels, okay? You're going to need that refueling if you are the one who's in charge of that teaching, giving to others, servicing, giving others your services, that sort of thing. If it's the flip side, and you are in a role where you are taking classes, or you are, going through some sort of self-improvement type of thing. If you are, for instance, watching various people on YouTube for different aspects, astrology, spiritual purposes, spiritual growth, health, practical day-to-day stuff, all of those things, there's going to be a part of you this week that even as you absorb information from others, there's going to be a need for you to really take it into yourself and decide for yourself what sticks and what doesn't. If it's useful, great. And if it's not, don't feel like because so-and-so said it, because the expert said it, because the doctor said it. And I am not, this is for entertainment purposes only. By all means, get your legal advice and your medical advice and your, do the stuff you know how to do, right? But there's also this element of not just blindly taking anybody's word for something, but taking the time this week to go after your own information. All right, you got magic prayer sitting up there, so that's another nudge, I think, from Spirit, that's saying this week in particular, while there's a lot that you may already know if you're this teacher, or there's a lot that's available to you if you are taking courses of study, your interests, etc., but there is this magic prayer that Spirit is saying you are the ultimate authority, and you have this energy this week where your words are very powerful. Pay attention to where Mercury is in your charts. Remembering too, we said Mercury is in retrograde. So a lot of us may even be thinking about the things that we were taught, the people we've looked up to, the institutions and establishments, especially spiritual, where our grounding, where we feel like we really got our, we cut our teeth, as it were, in our spiritual growth. But there may be some evaluation that you're going to be doing this week with that magical prayer. There may be this, I know this, and I'm not refuting what I learned or who I learned from, but now I've learned enough that it's time for me to pay attention to what I know is right. It's time for me to do some stuff with what I've learned. That's what's happening, because guess what your other card was? Your last card here is growth. Now, I don't know, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know what toadstools is all about. Let me see if I can, let's go to the book on that one really quick. This is from, y'all, because somebody's going to ask, it's from the Sacred Forest Oracle, all right? Let's see what these toadstools are about, number 44 in this book. Okay, growth, we know that's the key word. And pay attention to that number, double fours, all right, for those of you who are into numerology, all right? So, let's see. It says, the spirit of the toadstool says, beneath the surface of your life, Miraculous changes are occurring. Something that you thought was ordinary is, in fact, remarkable. Maybe you having learned all this stuff or teaching all this stuff, and now you're ready to step it up a notch with your magical prayer. How about that? You are in a time of rapid spiritual and material growth. Where's my growth? Where's the growth? That's the key word. That's why it came with that. Get ready and hang on for the ride. So this week is going to be where I think some of the fundamentals of what you know about life, what you believe in, certainly your faith, anytime we're dealing with Hierophant energy. Also remembering too, the Hierophant is ruled by what? Taurus. And we just entered Taurus season. So there is that. What do you value? What do you stand on? What have you learned? And what are you therefore prepared to also teach? Maybe the tide is turning a little bit this week, and you're realizing that you have reached a level of understanding and maturity in whatever area of your life, career, love, relationships, health. You've reached a certain, you have leveled up to a point where now your growth is evident, and that is what allows you to begin to take the reins of your own determined existence this week. And then, of course, going forward. But there's something going to be really, urging you in that direction this week. Now, the second thing. So this is about your leadership, especially your spiritual leadership. Second thing this week. We have the Eight of Swords. We have the Bone Collector. Some ancestral energy coming in here. We have enlightenment, okay, so there is enlightenment from the ancestors, and we have the fire element. I think you're going to have a conversation with someone this week. That's the second thing for you to all to look out for. Some of you are going to, I think a lot of you actually, are going to have some really stirred up conversations this week. If you're not careful, they could tilt over into being a little argumentative, because we got that Eight of Swords. So that's like the conversations that you have, some of the revelations that come out of those conversations. People may be a little, with that fire element we got, right? People may be a little, and this could be you, if you tend to be a little hot-headed, we all can get there sometimes, that speak before you think kind of thing. And then it reverberates, because with the Eight of Swords, it reverberates so that it could be something where a conversation is had, or an email is written, or some kind of communication. Remember, again, Mercury retrograde, and sometimes we get into those, you draft an email and you hit reply all instead of the one person, those kinds of things where communication can really, trip you up if you're not careful. And the idea, again, that this comes with this fire, that makes me think it's something that could be, a little fiery, a little, my opinion. Well, wait a minute, let me tell you what I think. And you, depending on your temperament, might just be ready to do a little pushback on that this week. But the after effect of that won't feel good to you. So I think that's where Spirit is saying your other two cards here are the Bone Collector and Enlightenment. I think what's happening here is your spirit guides are coming to remind you that this week especially, look to them. Make sure, the Bone Collector knows it all and knows the backdrop of all the stories. So let's use an example. Let's say you do run into a hothead this week, or something happens that triggers you, and you're that person that's getting ready to let it rip. There's some wisdom being offered you this week. And remember that there's always more than one way. You can get the message across, but there are different ways to do it. And you are being offered with that enlightenment coming with that Bone Collector. You're being offered, I think, as well, because of the studying that you've been done, or if you are that person who's the teacher, there's a certain authority that you're going to feel this week that's being offered to you. And it's authority not just based on your own experience, but life experience, understanding innately what sets people off. You might even have some sort of extrasensory kind of stuff going on with people this week. Sometimes you can just really read somebody. It's not even what they're saying out of their mouth, but it's the body language. It's what you've known about them. It's what you've observed about them. That's it. That's your enlightenment that's coming. Maybe you've been the bone collector as well. You're that person who you make sure you study things, you observe things very carefully. But that fire element is definitely, with that Eight of Swords, it's feeling like just be on your P's and Q's with that communication and how it goes this week, you all. Because somebody could, again, say something that just triggers you. And before you know it, it's just like, boom, especially if you tend to be like one, an outspoken, honest kind of person. You could even be, for those of you who see this, and there's that you are a fire, sun, moon, or rising sign. You have a lot of fire in your charts. Maybe there's part of that going on too. But remember, the second thing this week then is, in addition to that leadership we just saw, the teaching that we just saw, the spiritual evolution, there's the wisdom that comes with that. So that when or if you are triggered this week, if there are some opinions that come at you a little strongly this week, or if in fact you feel your opinions are you feel the need to defend your opinion, you just remember that the way you say it, you can get your point across, but you want to do it that in a way that demonstrates this enlightenment that you've gone through, okay, and continue to go through. All right, and the third thing, so we got to watch what we say, watch how we are taking the time out for ourselves with that solitariness, in addition with our teaching, whether we're the student or the teacher, maybe the student becoming the teacher. That comes across as well. And then the third thing, you all, we have Seven of Pentacles with moonlight, with flexibility, with a lake, with that moonlight. I'll show these to you. And music. The reason that it's going to be important to watch your words this week is because there's some stuff that's beneath the surface, with, especially if this does impact you in a work environment or even a home environment, in a domestic situation, okay? There's some stuff going on beneath the surface that's what that enlightenment is about. You're going to really need to understand the subtext of what's going on around you. I say that because we started out with this Seven of Pentacles, which is a card where you have to take a moment, take a beat to assess where you are materially, something in your material world. Again, this could be your job, your home, your relationship, but whatever is tangible around you, your world as you see it. There's a time to really reflect on that, not standing still and not discounting the growth that if you're undergoing a growth spurt, and I feel like some of you are, especially with that fire energy again, all right? But there's this need for you to take a moment and just look at what is around you, evaluate what is around you this week in particular, because there's something that needs to be brought to light, and especially if you are on the verge of making a decision about something, especially if that something has to do with a purchase or something that involves your money or your investments, your home, something that may shift your home dynamic in some way, anything that pertains to your physical existence. There's something you need to know before you make that move, because you got this moonlight, and see, she's sort of in contemplation there, studying, because one thing the moon does is it illuminates, but it illuminates out of darkness, meaning symbolically, whatever the situations that are most pressing or that come your way this week, especially around communication, around tempers, around what you believe, going back to that Hierophant or messenger, the one thing is, because it is ruled by Taurus can be extremely strong. Taurus, the bull, it is a fixed sign. And there can be, when there's your opinion and someone else's opinion, there can be a little bit of that clash, and it's like digging in your heels. That Seven of Pentacles could also be you digging in your heels into, in terms of what you believe in, what your position is. And if you get challenged this week, it's that, I don't know. But what you're doing then, that's okay. But as you dig in those heels, not from a space of not looking, but you dig in those heels and you get solid so that you can take in all of the information around you. Because again, we have that moon and then we also have a lake. And I want to hold that up for you. You see all of that imagery. There's the part that you can see and there's all of that underneath. All of that life, all of that happening and unfolding beneath the lake. So there's almost, I'm getting the sense that you're going to need to, and then before I say that, I just looked down and saw that flexibility. That's the word. I was getting ready to use another word, but why do it when Spirit gave us that? All right. We just said sometimes with Taurus energy and the Hierophant, it can be whatever, if your beliefs, your faith, your opinion, your work, whatever you've been building with that Seven of Pentacles, if somebody steps up this week and tries to challenge that in some way, whether it's a loved one in your domestic life, a good friend, or a coworker out in the world, whatever it is, but there's something that you need to know before you completely take your stance and before you completely let your position be known on the subject. Study the subtext. If someone's not telling you everything, then perhaps that's what you need to go and dig up a little more. If you are taking courses from someone, going back to spiritual studies with that messenger or Hierophant, if you're the one studying and you feel like I'm doing this and I'm going through the motions, but I'm not necessarily growing or getting the information that I need, then there is something. Don't ignore that. And don't by any means think that there's something wrong with you. Like, okay, clearly I'm just not getting it because everybody, this expert seems to know, this evolved person that I look up to seems to know just fine. And I'm not getting it. What's wrong with me? All right. I deal with that a lot too. This makes me think, I teach tarot, and tarot can be, even though these are oracles, but tarot can be, it's a system and it can feel very technical. And when you're new at it, you can get into that, self-doubt so easily because it's just different. I've been doing it almost 30 years. I can eyes closed almost, right? But it's because how long I've been at it. For a lot of people, when we don't know something, when we can't see everything around it, it's not a bad thing necessarily, unless somebody's deliberately trying to trick us. But I don't know that that's the case. Actually, I think that you're too on top of your game this week to fall for some okie doke. But the point is then, how do you, this flexibility, how do you address it? How do you go about getting the information you need so that you can come back to that person or that situation? You can plan your next moves, not from a space of tit for tat or aggression, but strategically and with that sense of enlightenment that we saw earlier. That's the flexibility. Maybe there is something to that other person's point of view, all right, that maybe you just hadn't considered before. And that doesn't make you wrong, doesn't necessarily make them right. It just means there's some flexibility there. There's something else being given to you. And in so doing, it sheds light. It takes something from, underneath here and it brings it up here where you can make use of it. It brings it into your day-to-day life in a way that you can actually make use of it. If this is knowledge, I feel like for some of you, especially too, if you are in some sort of situation where you are going for a raise, a promotion, anything where it is your desire, it's a goal that you have, maybe a purchase. If there's a goal that you have and there's any kind of pushback from that goal, you have to rely on what you know. And then if you realize there's some things you don't know, then rather than react with some sort of intimidation or get triggered by that, this week Spirit is saying, take a moment in that moonlight and reflect at that lake. Take a moment to reflect so that some things can be revealed to you. All right. And your final card is music and joy. All right. So towards the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, maybe it's time to put on some music and dance, dance a little bit of that steam off, because it does look like it's going to be a pretty intense week, you all. It's going to be intense in terms of what's happening around you. It's going to be intense in terms of you needing to evaluate, going back to that Seven of Pentacles, you taking a moment to take stock. Here's what I've done. Here's what my next steps are. If in fact this is around your personal growth, your spiritual growth, and you having a certain amount of enlightenment that you have worked toward, or you are looking to others to help facilitate that enlightenment, fine, beautiful. But Spirit is also saying, do not for one moment discount your growth. And if that means that you need to take a beat and step back and find your source, where would you go to get replenished, right? What do you do? Do you exercise? Do you have someone you talk to? Do you read? Do you listen to music and dance? Is that your source of replenishment? Maybe it's not even dancing. Maybe it's classical music and you get into it. Maybe it's sound therapy. But there's something that brings you, that literally courses through your body, going back to that fire element that we saw. Very important for you. Fire is also closely related to this messenger. Fire of the elements in tarot. Fire to me is the most spiritual, because we've got Pentacles that deals with our earthly situations. We have the Cups that deal mainly with our emotional intelligence and our emotional situations and capacity. We have Air, which has everything to do with how we communicate, how we think, how we analyze. But fire, that fire in the belly, that fire in our spirits, that fire in the blood, that's our life essence. That's that stuff that gets us worked up and we decide what our next steps are going to be. So those are those three things for you all this week. It is about understanding leadership. It's either you, someone else, or you becoming that leader, right? You becoming that teacher. It is also about not letting people trigger you, watching your words this week, and not let anything trigger you to say something before you have all the facts. Take some time and go see it. Find out what it is that you don't know before you are so quick to tell somebody, well, listen here, let me tell you what I do know about it. All right. And then that third thing is music. The week needs to end more on, you've put out this energy and now there's some well-deserved, go for a walk with the music in your ears, or, get up and when nobody's watching, do your dance, whatever it is that gets your spirit going this week. This is by hands down a very, very spiritual week, but it is very personal, ancestral, spirit guides, very, very close, and it is meant to grow you this week. All right. I hope that really resonates. Let me know what you all think, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.